I'm Katie from Mitza Creek Farm. The windows that I painted or started painting, the first ones that I did, are finally dry, and so I am going to take and switch them out. I'm sitting in my car right now, but I'm going to switch them out with those front two ones that are right there, just so I can see what it looks like, because it's driving me crazy without having those windows painted. So Beck and I are going to do that really quick, just so that then when I look out my window, I can see the pretty black windows. I'm still debating on stain, but hopefully I will get that figured out sometime soon. All right, we got that done. Man, I love it. That looks awesome. I need to scrape a little bit more paint because I was not extremely cautious when I was painting those. And then take the stickers off. But man, I absolutely love that. Oh, it looks so beautiful. I wish you guys could see it in person. We are getting ready for fall. Now, usually we're getting ready for winter. Usually we have snow, have flurries by now. We had our first frost. We had a very light frost last night and 2 nights ago. And so we definitely have to kick it into high gear. We are a month behind on our frost dates. So we've been taking full advantage of this warm weather. But now we really have to get things going. So we are working on the greenhouse. The front door is on. We have tomorrow we're putting the roof and those end peaks on and finishing installing the windows. And so since we have a few hours this afternoon, we're going to try to get as much as we can out here done as possible. First thing on the agenda, we planted a whole bunch of hydrangeas from this arch up to that pole, because my plan is to put a picket fence from there, because we're going to be enclosing this area as a garden. And so we planted a whole bunch of hydrangeas thinking it would make a nice barrier. And I've been watching Garden Answers. I'll link it here. I'm sure everybody knows about it. I just found it. Actually, it might have not been Garden Answers. It might have been her friend. I think it's called Gardening with Creekside. I'll link them both in the comments below. But they said most hydrangeas do not like full sun. I didn't know that. The tag said when I bought them that they liked full sun. So these guys have been struggling here since we planted them. So we're going to get them moved, because then what my plan is we're going to bring in a load of compost here, make a mound kind of, because there's a dip here. It's kind of hard to see, but there is a dip here. So we're going to make a mound or a trench, opposite of a trench, whatever that would be, that would run the length of this landscaping fabric. And we're going to plant our spring bulbs in there. So first things first, we have to get these moved. In order to do that, we have to weed whip the spot where we're going to put them. So Beck is going to weed whip for me, and I'm going to bring you over and show you what we're doing. The other day, we took some mums that we had that were struggling. I think they were root bound in the pot. They were getting, no matter how often we watered them in the afternoon, they'd get droopy. And so we planted them up there in hopes that they'll come back next year. They should, because we planted them early enough, but I love how that looks. I can't wait for them to get even bigger next year. So I'm really hoping that they hold on throughout the winter. So here's Beck's boat, and there's this area across the driveway here. Our dumpster is there. And so I just want to have this weed whipped here, and then we're gonna take and transplant these hydrangeas there. There's a stake there. We pounded it in the ground last year when we put up Christmas lights, and we can't get it out. So we'll have to put Christmas lights here. So the hydrangeas will have to go behind that. And then that way we can create a pretty barrier and hopefully choke out some of this invasive tree here. So this is the invasive species. My grandpa actually had it in his yard when I was growing up. He always called it a wahoo tree, I think is what he called it. And they are beautiful, but you can see all of these little guys here are seed pods, and one giant one of these releases tons of seeds. And this area is pretty uneven, and so we don't mow it often. We try to mow it a few times a year, but all these shoots that are up around me are these trees, and so we are doing our best. We've made from, you can see those trees there to here. We've expanded our yard that much and maintained getting these guys out, and it's a little shorter. Let me see if you can see behind me. It's like thinner. They're just shoots. This was mowed earlier this summer, and that's how much they've grown since then. And so we're just trying our best to get them out. There are some big ones back there, and I don't mind a big one that would look pretty, but they are very, very invasive. I believe that they're called European spindlewoods. They do cause colic in horses. They can be toxic for livestock. Our goats have eaten them, have not had a problem, but that doesn't mean that they aren't for other animals. Our goats are pretty big, and goats are usually pretty good at knowing if things are bad for them, they're not going to eat it. But I do want to eventually get this all nice and cleaned out and get this usable. And so if we can get in here and get this clean, just this stretch right here where Beck is, cleaned out this fall, and plant some hydrangeas in there and maybe put down some landscaping fabric or something, then I feel like we're one more step further in hopefully getting this under control. While Becca's doing that, I'm going to show you guys an update on the greenhouse. We got the windows installed, or we got those two installed, and then my dad this morning brought over this door. This was their old storm door on their house. I don't remember if it was their front or back door. I'm gonna paint the trim black on it, but it was funny because I was thinking it was tan. On the inside it's tan, and so I was looking for a color to paint it, and so I had grabbed a whole bunch of paint. None of the colors were really what I wanted, but I didn't have a barn red. I only had a bright red. I didn't have the color shade of blue that I wanted. I didn't have the shade of green. And so I was really struggling with what I had. I was actually going to mix a whole bunch of paints and try to get close to what I wanted. And so when I went over to their house, he said, no, the outside is this barn red. Remember when we had our front door that color? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, completely. And so sure enough, it matches our barn. So that works out perfect. So I'm gonna paint someday the trim on it and the little divider things in there. I'm gonna paint those black so that it matches the windows here. But that is not a priority. We got the door on, so that's what we needed. Now let's see if I can get in here. Okay, so see how it's tan? That's what I thought the whole door was. So I was very glad that the outside was red. So here we are. These are the north wall. And so I'm glad I made those windows a little higher, because I will do probably like a shelf right here, window height, and then one probably here. Having those two window heights, like right there and right there, will actually give me two shelves to grow on. And so I think that that'll work really well. I am so looking forward to getting this all nice and organized and having a spot for everything that I have. I just wanted to come in really quick and look at where I'm gonna put my tools, because that's something that they're getting kind of scattered everywhere, and I want to get a spot set up in here for them so that I can put them away. So here's the view from the inside. And so there will be a shelf here, like a garden shelf or a greenhouse shelf there, and then underneath that will all be used for storage. And so I need to figure out, I'm thinking I might just do something kind of over in the corner and then maybe there, because the hinge is there. So I'm not going to walk in and hit something. So I'm thinking I'm going to get something and put my rakes and shovels right there. So I was gonna just go do that, and one of the kids pointed out that probably not wise, because we need to be in here to put the roof on tomorrow. So that stuff is just gonna get in the way. So that's okay. At least I have an idea now, and I want to get some hooks and stuff for it. So that'll give me a good plan of action for that. And I need to get all the pots. I want to get all that stuff cleaned out from the high tunnel and the stone coop, because they're kind of just scattered. And then I've been using my nursery pots and stuff to pick produce, because we don't have enough containers to store all this stuff that we're still getting. So I wanted a spot to put all of the stuff that's kind of scattered, so that it's all together in one spot. It'll just have to wait until tomorrow afternoon though. In the high tunnel, we are still getting tons of tomatoes, and I've just really let the plants go. I feel horrible about it. It's a lot of wasted produce going on in here, but there's only so many hours in a day, and I have not been feeling the best, and so it just has taken the back burner. But I took a few hours this morning, and I started going through and pulling out plants, doing massive prunes on plants. I just got the berries, or Brad's Atomic Grape section done. And my mom was helping, and she got the cucumber vines all pulled out, because we are not, or these ones at least, there's a bunch in the back. But we got that done. So that's a big relief. We need to get that emptied, and then I can refill it. Those mineral tubs are working well for filling up, but you can see back there how I'm using nursery buckets to put produce in as we pick. So I just start on one plant, I work my way up, I re-trellis it, I get the yucky fruit off if it's rotten, and then I pick the good fruit, what I can. And you can see back there, like the cantaloupe is all completely dead. The watermelon are still doing okay. We've got some big watermelon in here. So we have lots to still pick, but I'm just taking a little section at a time, so then it's a little more manageable. Definitely not putting 100 tomatoes in here next year. That's way too overwhelming. It was okay to begin with, but it took a lot of time, and as it started producing a lot, as we started picking and harvesting a lot, it was a full-time job. So we're not doing that next year. That was way too much. Goal is to get the hydrangeas transplanted today. If we can get that done, then tomorrow we can put the mulch and the compost over along there, and I can get the bulbs planted while Owen and Beck are putting on the roof of the greenhouse. So I don't want to get all of this done today. Beck is doing an amazing job. Let me show you what he's gotten done so far. Beck, you're doing an amazing job, bud. Those are probably the roots for those. Oh, it's netting. Crazy. Throw it in the dumpster. Don't put it in here. So this was all overgrown shrubs, and now he's just getting they're the ones that are not coming up easily, getting them out of here. He got it raked. He took the lawnmower and mowed here. So it's looking really nice. I wish that we had the ability to do this all the time, but there's some pretty big ruts over here, so it's not something that we can do with the riding lawnmower just as we're mowing the lawn. That doesn't work. So man, this looks amazing. He's doing a really good job. So Beck is digging those holes. I'm gonna put some compost. We have some buckets of compost here that he just went out and got from the pasture for me, and so I'm gonna put compost in each of these holes, and then we can get the plants transplanted. Why don't you do them over here? So one of the things I learned about in the video I was referencing earlier is that white leaves on hydrangeas mean there's an iron deficiency. And so I noticed that some of our oak leaf variety have some white on them. And earlier this summer I noticed that, so I started watering them more, fertilizing them more, which I should have been doing from the start. I just didn't. It wasn't a priority. And so I fertilized them quite a bit, not every day like some people do, but they really seemed to bounce back. There's two though that I've noticed still have quite a bit white. The new leaves are a lot better looking, but they still do have quite a bit of white. So I did get an organic iron additive, and I put a little bit in each hole for these guys. And once they all get planted, we'll put drip line on here and run fertilizer through it. So I feel like they're going to be a lot happier over here than over there in the full sun, full sand, everything. So that I have for future reference, I just want to show you, this is the stuff that we're using for the iron. It's called Organic Iron Tone. And it is the same stuff that Garden Answers uses in their video, and she added it as she was planting hydrangeas. So I feel pretty confident in that because her gardens are amazing and she really seems to know what she's doing. I am learning by experiment. This is only our 5th year here on this farm. It's our 5th year, 4th year growing stuff. And so we were new to all of this. And so every year, if I just keep doing a little bit at a time so that I'm understanding and comprehending and learning as I go, I feel like we're gonna have a really good grasp on things in a few more years. So we got that in. Beck has a few more we're gonna plant right now, and then we'll get started on the small ones. Those will kind of go staggered in between here because they're different colors, and then we can get going on watering these. I just forgot to film all of this, but we got the drip line hooked up. We got water coming out. The way we have it set up is it's in between the 2 rows of hydrangeas. So there's a hydrangea here, there, hydrangea there, hydrangea here. So we just have the drip line running between the 2 of them. Before we get a hard freeze, I want to put mulch down on here, and then that way we can level out some of these holes because it's pretty uneven, and we'll just cover right over the drip tape. It's my hope. We'll see. But we got this project finished. I think these guys are going to be a lot happier here. We're supposed to have the nights are supposed to be somewhere between, I think tonight is going to be the coldest in a couple of weeks, so like 34ish, and then the days are all supposed to be 50s and 60s for the next few weeks. So if I keep a good fertilizer on this, which I have fish emulsion running through it right now, and if I have water it really well, I think that their roots, because they're not dormant yet, so I think that their roots are really gonna go nice and deep, especially with that compost and the fertilizer. So I think that they'll be good. If not, that's okay. I don't think I'll have time to move them next spring. So we did what we could, and I see a leak. We're gonna have to, I'm not sure if you guys can see that right down in there. But we'll fix the leak and then head in. That is it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you next time.